First way to prove a quadrilateral is a parallelogram is opposite sides parallel. So if both sets of opposite sides are parallel, so if this is parallel to this and this is parallel to this, then you have a parallelogram. If you're only told that one of those sides were parallel, you couldn't prove that it's a parallelogram. Should I zoom in a little bit? There we go. There you go. Opposite sides parallel. The last school I worked at, we had like a Samsung tablet, and you'd use the tablet to record and project, and it worked a lot better. The technology was a lot better than this thing. I'm sure it acts like it's 10 years old. Okay, second way to prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Opposite sides are congruent. So in your parallelogram, if your opposite sides are equal to each other, then you have a parallelogram. Third way, opposite angles are congruent. So opposite is like the diagonal angle. So if one of these conditions exist, then all the other ones would exist. So if you're told that the opposite angles are equal, then you can also say that the opposite sides are equal and the lines are parallel, and so on. Okay, fourth way, this one's new from yesterday. If one pair of opposite sides are both parallel and congruent. Oh, sorry. Here, moving over. One pair of opposite sides are parallel and congruent. So what does that look like? Parallelogram here. You're told that this side is equal to this side, and that those opposite sides are also parallel to each other. Then it's a parallelogram. Then again, all the other conditions exist. Then the last one, number 5, diagonals bisect each other. So bisect means that they intersect at like the midpoint, and it breaks the diagonals exactly in half. So here's my parallelogram. There's a diagonal here. This is the longer of the two diagonals. The diagonals aren't the same length, but they do hit at each of their midpoints. So this would be the same length as this, and this is the same length as this. And if the diagonals bisect each other, then you have a parallelogram. Okay, then using these 5 ways to prove a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, we're going to answer the questions right here. It says, state which theorem you can use to show that the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So all we're doing is we're looking at these pictures and we're deciding which one of the 5 conditions are met to prove it's a parallelogram. So for number 1, the opposite angles are equal, so therefore we have a parallelogram. So just opposite angles congruent. Then for number 2, the opposite sides are equal, and that is one of the ways, so opposite sides are congruent. Would it be better if I zoomed in again? No. Let me see it. Okay. Then number 3, it shows that this is the same length as this, and this is the same length as here. That means the diagonals are bisecting each other. And if the diagonals bisect each other, it's a parallelogram. Diagonals bisect each other. Then number 4, you have your opposite angles equal again. Opposite angles congruent. Number 5 is that new way that we saw today. One pair of opposite sides parallel congruent. So we have these are parallel and they're also the same length. So one pair opposite sides congruent and parallel. And then number 6, it shows the diagonals bisecting each other. So diagonals bisect each other. One of the ones that come up on the homework that somebody asked me about, it had a parallelogram. Let's see if I can draw a parallelogram like this, and it just showed this, and it wanted to know like how you could prove that's a parallelogram. In this case, you can't. It doesn't have enough information. Just one side being parallel doesn't give you enough information to prove it's a parallelogram. So if that happens, just make sure that all the conditions, are met. Okay. Then for the next set of problems, this is very similar to what we did yesterday. I'm not going to do every one, of course. We'll do 7 and 9. I'm going to do 7, 9, 11, and then I'm going to add one at the bottom. Okay, so 7 shows the angles. It tells you right here that it's a parallelogram, so that's why we know that the opposite angles are going to be equal. So if this is 66, then this is 66 degrees. If this is 114, then this would have to be 114 degrees, because the opposite angles are equal. Number 9, opposite sides are equal, so you would set these equal and solve for the variables. This is equal to this, so 4x plus 6 equals 7x minus 3. And then 4y minus 3 equals 3y plus 1. And then I'll solve each of those. We get y equals 4. Okay, and oh, what's that? What'd you get? Y equals 2 or x equals 2? Let's see. Did you add 3? How did you get y equals 2? I did okay. So you then put it over here, so you get negative 4. But then you would subtract the. Okay, 11. It tells you it's a parallelogram again. The diagonals bisect each other with a parallelogram, so this is equal to this, and you can solve 4x plus 2 equals 5x minus 6. That's 8. Okay, the next one that I'm going to add, yesterday on the homework there was a couple questions that came up with graphing or with coordinates. So that's the example we're going to put here. So homework example, in case you get one like this, it is, okay, so parallelogram has vertices A at 8, 2, B at 6, negative 4, and C at negative 5, negative 4. And it asks, what is D, or the coordinates of D, but we'll just forget it. What is D? There's different ways you could do this. You could probably use math to figure it out as well, but I think the easiest way to do it would be to actually graph the points and then figure it out. So what I would do is, I'm going to have to zoom out because it's not all going to fit. Okay, sorry. Okay, so there's the coordinates. I drew a coordinate plane. What I would do is I would graph the coordinates, and I have graph paper up here if you need it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What's that? So you get 8, 2. B is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then negative 5, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here is 3 of the coordinates, and it wants to know the 4th coordinate. Oh, give me a second, hold on. Okay, so I got 3 of the coordinates. The way to figure out the 4th one is I would move to the right 2, like look at the slope, because the slope's going to be the same because they're parallel. This goes to the right 2, or right 1, sorry, right 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would go to the right 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and get the coordinates. Did I mess something up? 8, 2, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 4. Why is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? I messed up because I'm not perfect. Sorry, I'm not perfect either. You just messed up. Nobody made a big deal. That's okay. Okay, so 2 up 6, 2 up 6, and you'll get your coordinate right here. It is at negative 3, 2. And then I'll put the thing right here. Okay, here, if you needed those coordinates there. Okay, for the rest of class, you have time to do your homework. We don't have the laptop cart today, so you will need to use your phones for the homework. Please ask questions as you need to. Also, make sure that you're working on Alex as well for the week, so that way you don't get behind on that.
I got lost my app.